1 minute to the bottom of the hour, about 2 minutes to the bottom of the hour. And the 5-minute window just before the bottom of the hour, the market starts to act up. We start to get some spikes going here. And this is how it is. Now, I'm still long in this damn demo account. Hopefully they're not going to go bankrupt on me. So I got my fingers crossed. And I don't know if this shows up on the screen, but I just had these faint wicks. Turn off this profit colors. I'll just make them deep blue. So these are my exits. That's my exit. The black's my entry, and this is my take profit. So my speculation tonight is we're going to shear off the tops of this of these wicks. And my reason for buying at the market down here and on limits is because my trend line broke, or my trend line that I would draw inside tightly here broke without trying to force the thing. I guess this would be my first triangle that broke today. That made a couple pips, but not the best trade in the world, like 10 pips. Then I was basing the triangle off of, I had these points here, and now I guess in this time frame not so much, but on the 15 I can scooch a trend line break in here without breaking any rules. We don't want to break rules, people. So if I go for this swing top to this swing top, we break out, we pull back, we break out, we finally find support there. Okay, so I'm going to buy a little bit at the market now. I'm still slightly long. It's very difficult. These triangles are so drifty, and they look like it could go either way at any moment, which is very disturbing. Not happy about the indecision that the market seems to want to participate in such ridiculous moves. So here's the $1.18 double bottom on the 4-hour. And I had the internal entry, which is the notch inside. Kind of overshoot the runway on that one, but that was the classic top within the giant sell-off of the euro dollar in 2 days. Trade sideways for 2 days, and hopefully it's just going to be a saucer bottom. I'm going to scalp this to $1.1220 optimally. Of course, actually, this is my exit. My first is that blue here on this guy at 12.16, so I'm being kind of conservative. I'll get out before the 20s. On this one, I'm going to try to get out at 20. I got 4-hour wicks stacking up here. Got the daily failing to... Look how they nicked yesterday's low by just a smidgen. Look at that, just by a smidgen. And these are 20 pip horizontal prices. And here's the infamous weekly, which, holy mackerel, that weekly. Wow. Holy bagoli. Big triangle on the weekly. Very interesting. Don't usually have the patience, but it's certainly fun to finally see a triangle forming on this thing. Here's support way out here and Gesundheit land, and here is the head and shoulders kind of guy. But certainly, if you got the patience, the weekly is going to give you the high probability roll reversals. That one, and now we're going to look to that's resistance, and this would be our first target on the sell side. Maybe it comes all the way to here, maybe here. So that's the wigwam on that, and then we go to the smaller time frames. This would be the 1 hour chart, and I built this speculation of a walk up these parallelogram walk up through all these resistances, or it's going to spill and walk down this into a retest of. So I try to put it like a fire escape for this currency. To walk down. It can't walk back into here because it can't back up, and you you can't have the market back up. But the rate of descent I establish off of this pivot, and this, I consider this to be a nominal standard rate of descent. So I could see that maybe it could come down here. It almost starts to look like a 3D box. You could build a box in space here, I suppose, if you wanted to, because you got this cross member here, right? So you could, but you can kind of see the caging effect, and then this would be the upper rung. So maybe it crawls up into this triangle, spills down, and walks down through all these triangles in a step motion. Here's a great place to build a big floor. So maybe when it overshoots the runway, taking out this wick, which is only 22 pips below, about 25 pips below right now is this wick. So maybe tonight we come down here, chop that off on the 1 hour, and we go sideways. But at least this way, I can kind of speculate, and then timestamp wise, I come in here with the connect these swing highs on the clock. When you get this stuff, and then connect that to this, you can kind of start to see it looks a little more 3D, right? And then you would just speculate. I've connected all these swing turns on the 1 hour. Right now we're at this one, but if you wanted to put a rung here at the intersection of these, now you can build a structure in the future. Yeah, I call this box kite trading. You know, this is like cloud trading, but for people that fly kites. Yeah, this is my new newsletter. Of course, now you can build like a real structure, right? And then you can just, of course, if this color scheme is a little too harsh, I don't know what it looks like. I guess it starts to look a little messy after a while, but you can also make the closing price when this starts to happen. When you run into the fact that you drew too many lines, you can always come back and beef up this indicator. Go for a I'd say Dodger blue and go as fat as you can. Go super fat, and then usually Dodger blue makes it. No, I guess that doesn't look too good. Yeah, that doesn't look right. I guess I'm gonna go big yellow. So it'll just take over everything, right? Big white, big white. I already got yellow, so I'll go big white. Okay, so you can kind of see it worming its way through, and at least the structure is more of girders, and I guess you could actually, if you go into the actual edit here, you can go beyond the 5th thickness. You can force it to go 8. It's just that the code that runs that indicator doesn't do that. But you can make this a giant line, or you can zoom in on the structure. I guess I should zoom out 2 levels maybe. So now we can see the mesh of it. A little too messy, but at least I'm giving it a time stamp out there out into the future. I think this is the only perspective I can handle. But yeah, we gotta take this out on close, and here would be the new support. We could come back to that. I guess I got a little carried away there. I just put an equidistant channel. But, you know, that was just for fun. But yeah, here's be the envelope. And I would copy this, tag it off of this rollover, and give yourself a little bit of breathing room. Certainly when it goes after that. And then put in the obvious stop hunt for all the robots that are going to see all those wicks, and then here's the ultimate pivot we keep banging on close, and that's a totally different world than the wick. And this is the fair value rollover, this window in here. Alright, so that's where, and then we can take this, copy this zone up into here. And certainly this is where it failed, up in that guy. So I have to come back and see what happens. Can't wait for it to go up, but then again, on the other hand, you can't force a trade, so they tell me, but I always like to see if I can, just by buying something, right? Don't they know I'm in? All right, let me just tile these guys out and then go to the next. I'm running this this system here, the color system. These smooth candles, 1 hour chart, going for a black moving average. And this is nice because you're allowed to pull the buy trigger when it's this whatever tan color, so you're not breaking any rules, which you feel much better. This is almost like driving with the speedometer instead of guessing by how many cops pulled you over. That, oh, I guess I must have really been speeding, huh? And then it's easy to pluck the and just draw one line. And don't worry about the wicks so much because the color wheel's telling you what to do. You pick that wavelength there, that node. So right now, cyclically, we're right at that point, and then you just that's the 1 hour. Definitely like I like the entry on that to be slightly long. Of course, we could resolve this triangle in a bloodbath to the south, come all the way back there. This should be we're right at the round handle. This is 1300 here, and 1300 amazingly on the 1 hour was the closing reversal point. Then we walked up this stairway, we tagged 100, we came back 75, we tagged 100. So trading on the clock is about as dumb as it gets, and a lot of people don't like it. They spend a lot of money, they went to school, they're nuclear physicists, you name it, right? We all want it to be complicated. It's not. Here's a zoom out look at this indicator. Here's a overshoot the runway, but certainly smack to the 1, back to the 75, then to cut right through that. Cuts right through that price. In fact, on the 4 hour, once again, the market refuses to spend any time in this window between $1.10 and $1.11. It's just literally like zip zang, don't want to see you, wouldn't want to be you. And it's crazy. But with a slight buy signal here, and the 4 hour supports, again, would be the double top here, the rim of the saucer bottom, coincides with a tag here and a tag here. Unfortunately, you have to be long for the next 2 hours, I suppose, to squeeze 12 pips out of this puppy. And then if we can come back into this price here, I'm going to be buying like, oh, oof, like really 110, like at least for the scalp, always for the scalp first and later on for the drift. In the 4 hour world, we're just starting to turn. We got 2 bars we're allowed to buy. We've got the okay to buy on the 1 hour, but that's about as thin as I want to slice it, because you start to slice it any thinner with this smooth candle and you're just going to get whipsawed. You could make the argument for buying here on this pullback because you got the color back in you. That's a nice run on the 4 hour. Your stop would be back at this ledge, and then you just start hanging your trend line off of this thing. Once this trend line breaks on close, wow, spills out of the top. But that's like that terrible roller coaster ride. But bam, 200 pips down. I'm thinking dead cat bounce up into here tonight. Not too many pips. First exit 12.16. Second exit, this bottom that was supposed to hold, 12.33, 112.33. And ultimately for the bullish smash to $13.09 where the bottom dropped out. Of course, if you were short from there, that was a genius move right to this target. You would have known this price ahead of time, right? So certainly the ultimate trade would have been to enter at the break of this trend line, and then just before we broke it, without breaking any rules again, of course, you could have been short because you had this bottom which you could call a top. And you just have to trust and believe as you pull the trigger into that it's okay to let it go for 4 hours, see if they stop you up, but they don't, and your confirmation is the break of this trend line. So you're already short going in. And I guess if